show up in different ways.
Okay, good point. Everybody hear that? Okay, some people have food sensitivity. So the thing is that here's what we're exposed to on a daily basis. Okay, so this is household cleaners, and this is my shower with chlorine, and this is I don't know what. This is my parents ate too much Italian bread, and blah blah blah. When you get to here, your body hits a certain toxic level, and you become sensitive to it.
Well, and I think it's also, though, it has to do, you have to have a solid foundation in your intestines.
Yes.
You know, you have to have the right
Absolutely.
balance of,
Yes.
of probiotics in your intestines. And I think what's happened is that we've become
Yeah.
toxic.
Yeah.
And once you have that off, you're
Yeah.
sensitive to all kinds
That
of
is
foods.
correct. That is correct. At
And
the
then
end of
once
the day,
you-
that's right.
And then you can heal your intestines and your
Right.
leaky gut, and then you can reintroduce foods that you
Right.
couldn't
And
eat
so
before.
what are the foods that cause the main foods right now that cause imbalance in the gut?
Sugar,
What else? Gluten.
gluten, yeah.
Okay, what happened is the wheat product has all been modified. Even if it says organic, it has different genetic structure than the wheat from 20 years ago. So with all this genetically modified food, the body doesn't know how to process it, and it destroys your intestinal system. She's absolutely correct. If you want to get somebody well, focus on the gut. Get them off gluten and sugar immediately, and find out what they're not sensitive to, and start there. And somebody who's as sensitive to you, I would probably do something heavy duty. So sensitive enough that it doesn't destroy you, but something very concentrated so that you can eat other things that you shouldn't. You're the first person I've ever met, except for maybe like people who eat ice, environmentally insensitive people who can't have anything.
Well, see, no, but it's a test now that you can do, so the reason why a lot of gluten-free people aren't getting better, the
Right, it
celiacs,
might not be gluten.
is because
It could be
you
quinoa,
you cross-react.
Yeah.
So
I
they
know.
have a blood test now to look at cross-reactive foods.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And that's just because your system's
Right.
gotten so broken, beat
Yeah.
down by the gluten.
Yep. No, it's true. You could be sensitive to a lot of things.
And then once you get those out and
Yeah.
you give yourself a chance to heal, then you can reintroduce. And
Right. No, I'm with you. That's true. It's pretty specific information. And yes, there were lab tests where you can identify hundreds of different kinds of proteins which you're sensitive to. Yeah, I'm really familiar with it. I'm not doing that kind of work right now, but I know people who are. And I used to when I was practicing as a doctor. I used to do a lot of that kind of stuff. But for most people, if I could just get them going green, I can get them off the meat and processed food and the gravy and sugar and salt and soy. So ultimately, yeah. And, so it's just a process for everyone. Everyone has a different place that they're at. But for most people, if I can get them doing this, most people are, if you're sensitive to part of it, try something else. But it's very unusual. I've never met anybody sensitive to hemp protein yet. But that doesn't surprise me. You can be sensitive to, drinking. Okay, so getting back to the rest. If we're just going to make a smoothie, let's start out with, let's just try something. So in my work that I do with these guys, I talk about testing foods. I talk about separating and testing foods. I just found out I'm allergic to macadamia nuts also. Out of the blue. Add macadamia nuts, I start itching. I know I'm sensitive. I have to cut them out. I think it's weird. But eating has become it's almost like an extra career for you to figure out how to eat.
It's a social thing now. It's a social thing. We go out for dinner, we go out for coffee, we go out.
So what you find out is that people have a basic food that's the foundational food that they eat a lot of that makes them happy and keeps them going. People have that. It might be fish and rice, or it might be lentils, or it might be something. We go to Chipotle a lot. I'm telling you, man. It might be salads with tuna on it. So, it's important for everybody to have a go-to food that's healthy. And you can't eat it all the time. You eventually will become sensitive to that as well. So, it's a little bit of work to eat properly. But let's just start with the blender, so we can do a workaround on everything else. Because again, if you're doing this, you're making up for a lot of this nutrition elsewhere. So, we blend the greens first, before we put anything else in there, because they're the most fibrous, right? And so So we want to break down the fiber. I use about 3/4 of filtered water. I'm going to put this mint in there.
So is it better to use the actual like kale instead of like a green powder?
Oh, yes, if you can, yeah, of course. But you know, people who are on the run, I mean, if you have to use it, use it. Get something green. But obviously this, yeah.
It's better to use the
Oh, yeah,
actual
if you can get this.
processed.
Why isn't this thing working?
Is it plugged in?
Yeah.
So at home, I have a 3.5 horsepower blender, a Blendtec, and then Vitamaster, is that the other one?
Vitamix.
Vitamixer and a Blendtec are two really high-powered blenders that will save you a lot of time and make your life a lot easier.
What about the
Works,
juice?
You know, blending is much better for you than juicing.
Ice cream, like.
It is?
Oh, 1,000% better, absolutely.
I just.
Oh, I didn't do frozen.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because juicing, you're removing all the fiber, you're super concentrating the sugar. Right?
There's a time and a place for
And a
juicing.
blend text.
Absolutely.
Definitely not bad, there's a time and a place for it.
Yeah.
But on a regular
But like
basis,
a
during your
tea
life,
bit of-
you can do blends.
And
and
just
keep
there's
that
ice
as
cream
part
in
of
it,
what you're doing.
so it makes sense.
You can't like really
I have a blend text, so Vitamix is
always
the same.
juice in large amounts.
Well,
Smoothie shop is
so
open, I'm trying to get rid of it.
we returned one.
I need somebody to get started over there.
Yeah, I need some,
Good job.
This is the